Democracy Dialogues is a new platform aimed at bridging the gap between governance, democracy, and sustainable and inclusive development through dialogues with experts and everyday citizens on critical issues such as constitutional reforms, anti corruption, security, electoral reforms, human rights, public service delivery, etc. And we plan to have segments focused on both local and regional topics to help inform, to help inspire, and to empower diverse audiences, particularly the youth and women, to actively participate in democratic governance in Ghana and on the continent. I am your moderator for today, Audrey Gajeko, and the topic we're going to be handling is a new parliament, fresh voices, and the affirmative action agenda. We are particularly privileged to have two female members of parliament and a renowned gender expert on the panel. And I'm going to introduce them. We have both MPs are freshers. This is their very first time in Parliament. We have Honorable Phyllis Nakoyo Okuno, and she is the NDC MP for Awutu Senya East. And we have Honorable Damata Ama Apienima Salam, NPP MP for Ifijia Kwabre South. We also have on the panel our own senior fellow at the center, CDD-Ghana, who is a gender scholar and activist, amongst other accolades, Professor Tsechua Menu. So welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
I'll just start with a few words and then we'll get the ball rolling. You know, we've elected our first female vice president, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman. We're all very excited about it. We have somewhere in the audience also Dr. Mariama Isaka Cressy, who actually ran as vice president to Cheddar, even though we didn't see as much of her as Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman. But it did show women in those positions in the past elections. But the number of women in the 9th Parliament has only gone up marginally from 40 in 2020, and that's 14.5%, to 41. We're still at 40. Hopefully 41 when the last seat is Ablekuma North is settled, because there are two women vying. So no matter what we do, we will get 41. But that will be only 14.8%. So we are not even at 15%. We have 276 seats. Some people would argue we are inching our way upwards from 8% in 1992 and 9% in 1996. But at this rate, it will take forever for women to reach parity in Ghana's parliament. I mean, especially when we compare to places like Rwanda, where they have more than 60% of their representatives in their chamber of deputies. So, my first question to you all, given your experiences, some in the trenches and some through scholarship and activism, to tell us, why is it important that we have more women? Not just in parliament, parliament is important, but in politics generally. Why is it important? I'll start with you.
Okay, so thank you very much for this question. Being a woman is not difficult. but our system makes it look as if it is difficult for a woman to take position or to run for any position at all. For example, I had to face a lot of challenges way back from 2019 when I started to work towards my ambition. You'll be faced with a lot of threat messages. You'll be faced with a lot of the male will be bullying you. You even have your own female who would also undermine you in one way or the other. So it makes it difficult if you are not strong hearted, and you may easily give up on your ambition. So I think some of or most of our women shy away from leadership role because of one, stigmatization, then also the fear of being name called or being called something else and all that. Um, from 2019, it's been quite, I wouldn't say my journey was easy. It's been quite difficult for me. All the way to 2020, I had to face death threats, and which when you even do report to the police, nothing is really done about it. All the way to 2022.
Can I just ask, death threats from where? Because that sounds really alarming and extreme. And why?
Okay, so all the way from my primaries, I contested 7 men, and I was the only lady, and obviously I was very young as well. So I was receiving death threats from the other gentlemen I contested against, and some were so scary that I almost gave up. Because I remember one instance where I just moved out of my house. Then I received a picture. He said, "You are driving the black car today. You are in a blue top and a blue jeans. We are following you. You will come back with a dead body." So there are times that it looks like they monitor my movements at each step. And when you return home, you get another text. You just got home, so you see we are monitoring you. They just want you to know that really you are being monitored. And there was other one that if you don't step down, we'll kill you. Then I think there was one day there's a Muslim who lives just opposite my house. So it was the Ramadan season and slaughtered a cow. And he said, "You see how that man slaughtered his cow today? That's how you be slaughtered." You see, so
Wow.
I receive these things, and sometimes you'll be in your mind, like, is this worth it? Don't you want that peace of mind that you have always enjoyed? Going out freely without any fear and all that. Your family is always at the edge. They are checking on you at every second. Where are you? Are you okay? And all that. So it's as difficult as a woman, and especially as a young woman. I am very, very young. I'm just in my 30s. So it is very difficult for you to even sometimes really decide on what you want. Whether you want to put your life on the line and the life of your family and friends around, because obviously your family would come after you,
Yeah.
your friends would come after you, loved ones would want to talk you out because they feel that politics is a very dangerous game, and you being a woman is even worse. People can attack you at any time, and we've been made to know that because it is politics, you have put yourself up for the job. You don't complain when you are being attacked.
So it's
It
just
is
part
part
of the
of the
game.
game. So you keep quiet, they attack you, you laugh over it. When you are hurt, you smile and you move on. So it's been like this for all this while. We've just tried to manage ourselves, and we are here today.
All right. We're really glad you made it through and you are represented in Parliament. We will continue with the conversation and we'll pick up on some of the issues raised by what you've just started us with. But I'll come to you, Honorable Salam. Um, you heard her.
Yes,
What
please.
were your experiences?
Thank you very much. I will thank the CDD Ghana for giving me this opportunity as a first timer to learn more and even use this platform to even help me with my course of duty. And also happy to be among the panelists like Professor Audrey Gajapo, somebody I've admired since I was very young. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I would say my story is a little different from what my sister shared because I was part of the constituency. I've been a women organizer, constituency secretary. So I will say that I was part of the constituency, know more about the constituency. So I was in for, I know what I was in for. But with the support of my former constituency chairman and some executive, I think I was a little lucky. But it wasn't easy, like my sister mentioned. Contesting with men, I contested with 2 other guys. It wasn't easy. And I might have Asante, have a Nordna. And contesting in a highly Ashanti community, it wasn't easy for me. My name alone was a big challenge to me. That matter, where it's from, that matter, he's not from here. Meanwhile, I was part of the constituency from 2012, and nobody complained. By the time I put myself up for this MPship, then that matter is not from this constituency. He said, not now. So why should we allow her to be our MP? It wasn't easy for me. So like my sister mentioned, sometimes I went home and I cried. So I said, why don't I enjoy my peace? What do I even want? That with this hatred, hate speech against me and those things. But like I said earlier, I'll consult my constituency chairman and he will advise me and so forth. So we went for the election. God being so good, I won the primaries. And it didn't end there. This hate speech continued. Some even call some chiefs. I in Ashanti region, you are allowing a Northerner to be our MP. Not knowing one of the chiefs they mentioned was my teacher at the primary school. And he knows me very well. So he mentioned, you don't know that matter. She's an Asante. The mother, I know where the mother from. The mother is from Kwabre. So if she's representing Kwabre, she deserves to represent Kwabre. She comes from Kwabre. So this case just died out there. Chief Nana Kwantakese, he helped me in that way, and it dies out. But we say, thank God, now we are here. We are a new chapter. And I think some of us have just put ourselves there, not only for ourselves, we also want to raise those women down there. Let me tell you a little story. When I became the women's organizer in 2014, you know these MPP local elections. So 2 men were fighting for women's organizer position. Meanwhile, we have the secretary position no one is contesting for. So I asked the woman, why should, instead of one to be voted out, why not go for the secretary position? So they asked, ma, can a woman become a secretary? I said, wow. They didn't know. I said, they have to do something about it. So in our next constituency election, I just said to myself, go for the secretary position. I will contest the constituency secretary position to serve as a role model for other ladies. It was a very keen contest, but I did it and I made it. So other women looked up to me. So now when it comes to my constituency, we have so many women being coordinators, chairman, in those positions. So I think it's worth it. And we need, as a woman in leadership, we need to also raise up those down there, especially at the local level.
Great, wonderful. And Prof, you have heard them. I'm sure you've some of these stories are familiar to you. So help us make sense of these barriers that women face when they go into politics. Not just the, the intimidation, but I imagine there are other barriers, perhaps some not easy to see, but they're there nonetheless.
Thank you very much, Audrey, and thank you also for inviting me to be part of this podcast and to be sitting with these fresh women MPs, baby MPs. It's interesting. I want to make a few comments before coming to the question that you've put to me. So when I was thinking of this podcast, I was remembering we are in 2025. It's exactly 50 years since International Women's Year. in 1975.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that it's for me as an academic, certainly, I am listening to the experiences of our two MPs, but I'm also putting it in a broad perspective about the struggles for voice, for representation, um, especially in the public space. It's not been easy. It's not isolated. It's been a global struggle. And it's important for us to look at where we are. You had some statistics about 14.5, the zigzag. I like to start from 1960 when we had the first affirmative action um, law, which was not even used, but where we had almost 10% women, and to show the very slow progress that we have made in Ghana compared to other countries. So you mentioned Rwanda. We can go to Senegal, where they have a gender parity law. So Ghana has always been like full of promise, but never really delivering. So here we are, whether it is 40 or 41, we're barely 15% in parliament. And it's not because women have not wanted to be there. I think that often the story is that, oh, the women are not interested. And yet we are hearing stories of people who are interested, determined, and the obstacles that they have faced. Sometimes the threat to their lives to be there, So I put it in that context about the struggle for space, for representation, and to be seen and heard, because these are young women, they are competent, they want to do it, and yet the obstacles are thrown in their way within their own parties and then between the parties. And often you do not feel that you are getting the protection from the law. So I think that we want to start by congratulating them and hoping that whatever the personal experiences have been, there's a larger goal. The representation is not just about yourself, but like Honorable Damata was telling us, trying to prove to the other women to think that it's not just a few spaces, because sometimes they do say that. Recently we heard somebody say in Ghana, it's almost like you've got a female vice president, so what more do you need? As if it's a zero-sum game. Once you've got that, you don't need to be there. But we are given our majority, given the very essential roles that we play in this country and our humanity. We have every right to be there. And it's important that we soldier on and deal with the obstacles, know. Yes.
Right. And do you think that you mentioned people think we have a female vice president, end of story. But do you think that that's a good dynamic? Is it going to open more doors? But I mean, you're from her party. Do you already see some shifts?
Okay, I think Professor Jainana Opoku Ajiman has been a great inspiration to a lot of people, a lot of the young ones coming up, and myself as well. Her candidature some years back motivated a lot of people to even come out to do active politics. And the notion that we have a vice president being a woman, so it is enough, cannot be written. Because she being there serves as motivation. And I think that it would also urge a lot of young ladies coming up and those who are already there to work harder to get to where she is now. Looking at her profile, she has a lot of academic credentials. She's done a lot to impact into the lives of society, especially the younger ones. And I think that a lot of people would look up to her. So I think she's an exceptional woman, but it shouldn't be because she is there, the rest of us would relax. No,
No.
we need to fight harder. I know that she would aim and wish that all the younger ladies coming up would be at a better position than she is in the years to come. So I know we are all looking up to her as a role model. We are looking up to her activities, how she impacts into the lives of the young ladies coming up, and many more. And I think that a little word to the young ones, the sky is not the limit. It is beyond the sky.
Oh wow.
So if you want to attain something, I
We're
think,
going to space then.
Yes, we are
oh
moving in
sure,
space.
you should go beyond the sky.
Yes, yes. But that's good. I mean, you're both making the point that role modeling is important
Important.
in opening up the political space. But parties are also important, okay? So, what are your parties doing to encourage more women into the political space, to recruit more women? How are they supporting you? Are they doing anything at all?
Yeah.
I'll start with you first, Honorable
Let me
Salama,
also
and then I'll come
add
to
my
Honorable Okuno.
voice in congratulating our Vice President, Professor Nana. And I know most of us and many women are looking up to her. So we wish her well and we know she will deliver.
Can
Now,
I add my voice to that, because I'll be remiss if I didn't say that she used to be on the board of CDD Ghana. So we too have a reason to be particularly proud of her. We own her.
Oh, now you are doing bragging rights.
Yes, yes.
She's my classmate from Form 1.
Ah, there you go.
now what our party, our political party doing about it? I think they are making some strides, I must say, because just ended elections. I think women, the filing fee, were given what a slash was in some percentages. I think that one will motivate most women to also what job. But they have a lot to do. I think especially those strongholds, I think they should allow women go on a post, and that one is going to help us to have the number of women representation we want in our parliament. And they shouldn't underrate women, especially when you go to the local level. There are some potentials we can what help harness over there. So I think the political parties, they know they mostly use women in this campaigning. So if women can help a political party win political power, it means they will be able to also what perform when the needed support is given to them to help certain what positions. So I think apart from this filing fee, supporting them, they can also make them go unopposed, especially in a political party stronghold.
Okay. And how about you, Honorable Okuno?
Okay, so with the MDC, for instance, the women were really, really helped. Nana Jane in particular took us like her children, and she gave us all the needed support and guidance that we needed. There were times that she even cancelled the women. We traveled out of Accra for a training session and other programs. They brought key speakers to come and speak to us on even how to run our campaign, how to manage your campaign, and how to draw your campaign program. When it came to logistics as well, she played a very instrumental role in providing a lot of logistics for the female. Not just her, our first lady, Mama Logina, also played a major role in helping the women, then our women organizers as well. But I think that to add to what my sister said, that it is not just enough to say that the filing fees of the women have been slashed. I think that at this point, women should be given some preference. It is very difficult in the first place for a woman to even decide that she wants to contest for a position. So if a woman is bold enough to say this, I think that the women should be given the preference of not being contested. That is if the woman is alone, the only lady or the only woman in that constituency, of not being contested, so that we can go on for continuity's sake. My constituency, for instance, is the 2020 elections. I contested alone. I was the only female. In 2024, I contested with another female. But then, when you look at the statistics from 2016 coming up, the one who contested before I did had a gap of about 16,000. I came in 2020. I brought a lot of dynamics on board. I put together the youth because Kaswa is more cosmopolitan, and per the population, you find about 68% of the people who live there to be the youth. So we needed someone who could appeal to the youth and also appeal to our mothers. Kaswa is Kaswa because of our mothers, because they do trading. So I try to appeal more to the youth. At the end of the day, the results I had was a difference of 4,800 as compared to 2016, which was about 16,000.
Yeah.
In these circumstances, it would have just been right that Nakoyo would contest 2024 unopposed, so that I can save more resources, I can save more energy, then I can think and draw more programs or more strategies to go into the 2024 election. But this was the case. I was contested again. 4 people came and I won. But what I'm trying to say is, if we are giving us women the room to operate freely, I think that some of these things should also be looked at. Where the women will be given the avenue not to be contested, where they'll be given the avenue to be able to express themselves freely, where they'll be even given the avenue to say things that they think is right for us. In my constituency, sometimes, even when you are bringing up a debate or a decision, Oyoba, that's kind of Oyoba. So a man wants to decide for you. Okay, like when you say, oh, let's rather do it this way. And the other thing that people also is, oh, Osha, she's young. So that is also something that is also not helpful, because when he keeps saying, oh, Nakoyo is young, then the young girl at my backyard who also wants to come into politics or wants to impact into society would also say, when she goes, they'll say she's young. I can't remember an experience with my opponent then. We had a debate on TV3, and we were talking about how we can develop the constituency, what are the measures that we can put together, how do we put the youth together. And she was like, my child is older than you, my firstborn is older than you. I was like, we are talking intellectual, we are talking about matured minds. It's like, but my child is 30 years, my firstborn is 30 years, and my firstborn is older than you. So I am more mature than you. And you see, and at this point, it is funny that people would even link um, being intellectually minded to maturity when it comes to age. So sometimes it's very difficult for us young ladies to also.
So two issues, ageism and sexism is a barrier to young females who want to get into the political space. Professor Techuamenia, I'll bring you in because I think that, and you also in your earlier remarks pointed to affirmative action. You know, the first parliament during Nkrumah's time was because of affirmative action. We've just had a law passed for affirmative action. So really, is that what we need to cure this problem?
Thank you. Yes, so I was going to say that I was coming to the affirmative action law, which of course took so long to pass, but it has passed. And in the affirmative action law, there are obligations on political parties. I think that sometimes we make things, we put a lot of burden on individuals as if it's because of their failings that things don't happen. And then it becomes the responsibility of one person to mobilize resources to do this, etc. If we look at the affirmative action law, the affirmative action gender equity law that has been passed, in clause 20, there are obligations on political parties to put measures in place, effective measures for to develop effective measures to achieve gender equity in political representation. And it includes the provision of information and financial resources to support gender equality. So the issue about the sponsorship of candidates for elections and appointments to party positions, they are there. And political parties are actually supposed to submit annual reports to the Electoral Commission to publish annual report, to to submit reports to the Electoral Commission, and the Electoral Commission must publish the reports in the Gazette. Okay, so it's there, and there is also an interesting provision in the law. If you look in the first schedule, where no, sorry, the fourth schedule, the president shall track and monitor the experiences of women appointed into public offices, governance, and decision-making positions. So there are these provisions. The problem is that when you go through the law, I did not see any sanctions for non-compliance. There's supposed to be, there's supposed to be this gender equity committee. They're supposed to be issuing gender equity compliance certificates. So, except for the private sector where there are both incentives and sanctions, in the other, with the other bodies, especially with the public service, there doesn't seem to be any kind of, yeah, um, penalty for non-compliance. So the affirmative action law has carefully gone through many of these barriers. And even though we are talking about political representation, we cannot divorce it from women's participation in the economy, their standing in society, issues around education, etc., which the law also provides for.
Yeah.
It actually in there's a schedule which is very long. I think let me see, the third schedule, it has guidelines and strategies in relation to education, to health, to employment, to local governance, and the like. Actually getting into curricular issues, cultural issues, stereotypes, etc. So clearly, there has been provision. This is not going to be an overnight thing.
Yeah.
It has existed for a very long time. But at least there is a serious attempt. The problem in Ghana is that with all laws and policies, it's about implementation. That becomes the issue. So you do have the committee, you've got representation from different bodies. But I think that our overall approach to implementation is always a problem. We do not systematically implement, and to implement, you need resources, human and financial. You need planning and coordination. You need leadership. You need accountability. You have to monitor. And then you also have to take into account the political economy, those who will oppose it. Audrey, and I cannot stop, I need to bring in the fact that globally there is a backlash against equality. Globally, there is a backlash against equality. So, similarly in Ghana, we can also expect backlash. I mean, like, we are tired. These women, this, So, these are all things that we need to. So, if there are, that political economy allows us to take into account, where the opposition is likely to come from, where the political will come from, and to see how we can bolster them and also create awareness and counter opposition, because it will be there.
Yeah.
Right from the political parties, from different institutions, and the society at large.
Yeah, that's true. But also another dimension to this whole debate about how do we get more women to participate in politics are the arguments by some experts and scholars that there are two factors that have to be addressed to improve the situation. The type of electoral system is one,
Sure.
and then as you are saying, the use of the electoral gender quota. So in 2022, for example, Sierra Leone changed its electoral system from the single member district, or first past the post as we call it, to the proportional representation system, and they added a 30% gender quota. And after their 2023 election, there was 29.5% women in parliament versus the previous 12.5%. Senegal also has a
Yes.
gender parity law for parliament. Do you think, and I will start with you, Honorable Salama, do you think we should go that route? This is the time to start this debate because we have a constitutional review process ongoing. Is,
Oh, I think as Ghana, we need to learn from other African countries that have made strides in this gender equality. Like we've mentioned Sierra Leone, where they have representation about 60%. Then we
no,
have
Rwanda is 60%.
Rwanda is 60%. So I think South Africa is 46%.
Senegal is 50.
Senegal is so we need to learn from other African countries that have made a huge strides in this gender equality issue. And it's going to help we those down there, the women that like Prof mentioned, if we are able to enforce this affirmative implementation of this affirmative bill law, I think it will go a long way to help the women. For example, without this even quota system, we have some women who are ready to compete, but the resources.
Yes.
So if women can be resourced, and even we should also educate the public, the perception out there, these cultural barriers,
Yeah.
women are too known, women are this, women are that. So I think we need to educate the public out there.
Yeah.
The women can also contribute to the development of this what country. So the awareness and education should come, and again the enforcement of this affirmative action law should also go on. Now I think CDD and other society or civil society can add their voice, can champion this
Sure.
cause for we the women.
Sure. And Honorable Okono.
I think it is quite different um, making the laws. It is different putting up policies. It is different also implementing the policies, and it's also different um, letting people understand the policy. I think at this point, as Ghanaians, we have gotten to where it is difficult for us to explain the policies well to the ordinary Ghanaian, because I believe that if the policies are well explained to the ordinary Ghanaian, it wouldn't be difficult for a woman to come out despite all the heckles to say that she wants to go into a leadership role. So I think at this point in our lives as Ghanaians, we should find ways to explain our policies well, and also to educate our people
Yeah.
on the need for them to be in leadership positions. We can have all these the NGOs and the other institutions abroad to help us.
To support.
Let's educate our women, let's educate our publics so that we can all come on board, come together as women and fight this
Okay.
cause.
We're running a little bit short on time, but you know, the last point that is made about education and providing information and encouraging people brings me to the question, and perhaps Professor Menu, you help us clarify it. Why is it important for women to be in politics, to be in parliament? Because like we've been saying, or I've been hearing you say, not everybody is persuaded that we need women, and so they're not willing to put in the effort to make sure that the women are there. Why is it important?
So thank you. Just before then, I just want to say that the Act has targets, so we are, according to the SDGs, by 2030, we should be at 30%. There's a mistake in the Act. They talk about 2034, but whatever it is, if we are at 14.9, 15% now, this is 2025. There's no way we will get to 30% either in 2030 or 2034 at the rate that we are going. So it does, presume some amendments to our electoral laws. And in fact, the reports of the political parties to the Electoral Commission need to specify the measures that they are taking to comply with the targets in the act. My worry is that it's not clear to me what sanctions they
Yes.
face for not
Yeah.
complying.
Yes.
But in terms of the issue about why we need women, I mean, you know,
I mean, we know, but
no, I
it's
know we know,
important for
but
people to.
we've made it over and
Yes.
over again. So it's not because people do not know or understand, but it is important to restate
Yes.
the issues around inclusion, around diversity, around equity. So it is a matter of human rights. It's a matter of dignity. It's a matter of development. So whether you use the instrumentalist approach or the inherent human rights approach, women, as more than 50% of the population, have the right, the competence, the interest, because part of the point is also that we're not interested. We are very interested. We are hungry. We want to come and eat the food. So, and I think that study after study has shown what inclusion and diversity does to anything, whether it's in a school, whether it's in a program. It's like making soup and you just put fish, you know, there's a particular taste. When you've added it, it's different.
When it's United Nations
United
soup,
Nations,
it is on a different
on
level.
you have got the snails fighting for this, you've got
crabs.
the crabs, yeah. You've got the fish, all of those things. So I think that, and the problem is that, that's what I was referring to. Diversity and inclusion is under attack. And my fear is that there are voices in this country which will latch on to those attacks to say that, no, we're doing just fine. It is clear that we are not doing fine. And we need all voices, all perspectives. And women bring, not just women, people, young people, people with disability, etc. They have unique perspectives that they bring to the table and need to be encouraged. They should be there.
Yes.
Yes.
Great. And before we go, I will be remiss if I didn't ask the MPs here. And I'll start with you, Honorable Okuno. What do you think your primary role is now that you've made it to Parliament? What would you say your role is?
Okay, so my role is to advocate for the women in the marginalized in society. Especially, I made mention earlier that in Ewutu Senior's constituency, Kaswa, we have a lot of women there who are traders, and then they don't have a voice. So my main aim is to be a voice and also educate them and pull them along so that they can also assume leadership roles in the coming future.
And Honorable Salam.
To be a voice for my women in my constituency, so that they will also be able to come out of their shells and also offer what they can bring on board to ensure that Efija Kwabe is well developed. Then secondly, I'll also be a voice for our youth, to mentor our youth. Now we know this, our youth has become a problem in our society, and I think they need to be sat down, organize mentorship program for them so that they also know their usefulness in the society. So for my women and my youth, I'll be a voice for them.
Thank you both very, very much. We've been listening to Honorable Phyllis Koyo Okono, NDC MP for Ewutu Senya East, and Honorable Damata Ama Apianima Salam, NPP MP for Ifijia Kwabre South. Both uh, fresh faces in Parliament, but full of dynamism and the zeal to make changes happen. And we've also been privileged to have on the panel Emerita Professor Techua Menu, a senior fellow at the Center, and also a gender scholar, activist, and all-round expert. So, ladies, it's been a pleasure talking to you today. And to the listeners, I hope you enjoy listening to us. As we said in the beginning, we're going to be bringing more democracy dialogues to you in the coming weeks. So stay tuned. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
No,